Hey, welcome everybody to the Mastery Series at Espresso Agent. We're so happy that you're on, and I want to thank everybody who's on Mondays with me at 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time for the Monday morning launch. It's been getting great. We've been getting into it. So we got a great guest. We have two people that are in my marketplace, which is a lot of fun. Nikki and Munesh. And you know what? I want you to say your last name in your language. Don't give me the American version. Say it in the Indian version. How do you say it?
Munesh Nikita Chandiramani.
See, I could do that, but not. So listen, guys, they're real estate agents. They're a couple. They're married. And you know what's interesting for me is that the people that come from other countries, agents that come from other countries. I mean, and I've coached a lot of them that, there's always a language barrier and all this, but for a little bit, let's talk about the transition, because there's a lot of stories here. There's Nikki, who was out front doing the business for a while. You had your own business for a while, and then you came from India. First of all, I want to know, how did you come over? How did you get over to the States?
Well, I was here for a friend's wedding, and my uncle lives here. So when I came here, I spoke to him regarding joining him in business. He thought it was a good idea. And 2 months later, I was over here. I wrapped up stuff in India and came over here.
How long ago was that?
That was in 2001.
2001. And what were you doing in India?
I was working with my dad. We had a family business there. My dad had a store. We were selling clothes, outfits. So I was in business with him over there. And then I came here and joined my uncle in business.
So he was an entrepreneur basically in India, right? I mean, he had his own thing going. He created his own business, right?
Yes.
Okay, good. And then and then you met this charming lady. You met Nikki. And how did you meet Nikki? Here in the States?
No, I did meet her back in India.
Cool. And then you brought her along in her suitcase. No, is that how that happened?
Actually, Bill, I was here by myself from 2001 to make sure that this is what we wanted. And then 6 months later, Nikki and my older daughter, Lila, joined me rather, yeah.
So Nikki, what was the chat when you came over? How did you guys get into real estate? How did that all happen? Were you in it first?
No, we came over and we were just, I was a housewife. I was into art, raising my kids. So, there was no real estate. However, once the kids were growing up, we were planning to start some business because both of us come from business backgrounds back in India. So we were thinking, we had various different, Bill, you know me, I always get different ideas. So I was like, let's start this and let's do this. And then we just stumbled upon real estate. And of course, me being me, I told Munesh, you get your license and I'll help you in the background. And
that's not exactly what happened, though.
What happened. I got my license. It was one of the cheapest courses. It was $100 to get a license, and it was nothing. It was easy. So I got my license, and thinking like everyone else, that real estate is easy. Like everyone's going to call me and ask me to sell them a house. But that's not true. And I realized that it takes a lot of work, and I was tied in the family business from 9 to 5. So I needed the help on the side. So that's how I roped in Nikki.
So were you guys intimidated to be able to talk to people with your Southern accent? Just kidding. You know what I'm saying? I mean, did you ever think, how we're going to get this business going? We're from India. Did you ever have that stop you or affect your head a little bit?
Not really. However, we were first working with a sphere, which is Indian people like ourselves. So we were comfortable talking because we all talk alike. Yeah. So we started with our sphere, and then slowly we figured out my strengths and his strengths, and then that's why we are where we are here today.
So that's exciting. So no different than an agent having to start anywhere. You started with your center of influence and people that you know, and you felt comfortable with that. They came from the same country, but then again, you started branching out. How long did it take you to really start to feel comfortable with this new career? How long did you think it took? Because I've known you for some time.
I would say 5 years.
Yep. When we started, we were not fully into it. I was in my other family business. It was like a sideline for me. Nikki was in it, and our business started growing. And then in 2017, I left my uncle's business and I joined real estate full time.
Good. So Nikki stuck her neck out. She's out in front. She says, come on, stop what you're doing. And what made you see it was the right time? Because there's a lot of what they call trailing spouse teams, right? The husband's still doing something, the wife may be doing something. What got you to the point where you felt it was the right time to come on over?
You know, we were seeing our business growing. You know, we were more confident with what we were doing and also how we were doing it. So we said, you know, if we are where we are, if we both join in and, you know, work hard at this, we can definitely grow.
All right. Now, here's the big question. So you wanted it, you grew, and then didn't you like hit a plateau? Wasn't there something that you said, okay, this is like, okay, we got to do more? Well, first of all, I know Nikki, I got to do more because she has to take vacations and do the things she likes to do, right? So how did you get to that point where you started saying, I have to start doing something different to get to that next level? Was there any indications, things that you saw that you were limited about that you needed to grow in?
Yes, I think we were doing the same mistakes over and over again. And that's when we decided we needed a coach, a business coach, to get us to the next level. And we, you know, invested in that avenue to see, okay, what else can we do to grow our business, to grow ourselves? And Keller Williams has been a big part of our growth, is just their business model and the way our broker is and the offices, and then of course our coach, who has really helped us grow in our personal lives as well as our business. So it's been an amazing journey.
So now you guys are making calls and you're prospecting. And so, Nikki, you're doing most of the calls right now. Tell me how that's all start, because this is a whole new thing, right? You're coming into real estate, you come from another country, you're here now, you felt comfortable. Now you had to go to that next step. Like anybody else, were you nervous? I mean, how did that go? Because people are still thinking this thing weighs 150 million pounds. So what happened there?
Yes, I was the same way. I was like, they're not going to answer. This is a big waste of time. Slowly, when I started seeing success, when I started using the scripts, slowing down slowing down, listening to the person on the other side, really using some of the tips and tricks of the business. And then I started seeing some success. And once I got the first lead through the phone call, I knew that, okay, if I can get one, I can get more. And that's how, and actually today I really enjoy making the phone calls because I don't know who I'm going to talk to. And some of the people that I've talked to have really become my good friends. So I feel it's a win-win. I can help them, I can meet someone new, and I can grow my business. So
were you scared at first, kind of like a little nervous?
Yes, at first I was scared because people were hanging up on me. They were cussing me out. However, I just stuck with it because I felt if I want to grow the business, this is one of the, I'd say, if I stick with the commitment, because there's a lot of things out there with Zillow and so many other lead programs, but I felt like this is something that I could stick with and say, because I heard one of Gary Keller's seminars one day, and he said, if Zillow is giving you the leads, Zillow can take it back from you. And wow. I was like, that's really powerful. So if I can work on getting the leads myself, I'd definitely be more of a control of my business.
Yeah. And basically, they're kind of holding us hostage a little bit, aren't they? I mean, you're actually seeing them coming in and breaking into other markets and being a real estate company, basically. So it's good that you've noticed that. So let's go from that whole mindset of now making the calls. And I know people here, I mean, you're some of you out there are having the same challenges. I mean, first of all, you got someone from another country who's come over here and says, let's make it happen. They're making the calls. We're not inventing something that's different for them. I think the only thing that you said, and I think you need to give that advice to other people that may be from another country coming here, because I think that was important. And when you said, hey, I started realizing that I had to slow down. What happened there when you started changing a little bit of your delivery because not everybody can understand, that accent. It's just human nature, right? What did you find out?
I found out that they were listening to me more now that I was changing my delivery a little bit and using some of the tricks of just repeating what they're saying so that they know that, hey, she's listening to me. So yeah.
So it works.
Bill,
so
one more thing
Go ahead.
And Bill, going back to the accent, what's happened now is, I think that fear is more in us if someone has an accent. I think in today's world, it is so global. Everyone lands up speaking to somebody and reaching out and getting help. Like you call an airline or you call HP, you're speaking to somebody from a different country.
Exactly.
So it's not new to them. I think more than the accent, the consumer sees what you can do for them. That's important.
Got it. Okay, so that's a good point, Munesh, is the fact that how do you come across, okay, so you're in a business that everybody's basically pitching the same thing. We got this, we got that, we got that. But what do you do that separates you apart from the competition?
Well, and that is, it's the coaching what we get from you two, and what we hear, and we apply that in our calls, or rather, Nikki applies that in her calls. But when I go for my listing appointments over there, it's different. I listen to them, I see what's most important to them, and I also see what they're looking for. It's not just I can do this, I can put a sign, I'm going to advertise in 20 different websites. It is not about that, and the consumer is very smart today. They know how things are done, but we have to facilitate, and we have to do it for them in their best possible interest, and we got to help them net the most out of the deal. So we show them how that's done.
How did COVID affect you? What happened when this all happened? I mean, because it was like cold water to the business. How did you adjust?
But when this all started in the middle of March, we didn't know what to expect, where it's going to go. It was all just very dark territory, but things started to brighten up for us. Fortunately, with all the prospecting that we were doing from end of December, Jan onwards, started to unfold. And, I was busy showing homes all of March, April. I was out 3 times a day. Luckily, there was no traffic. So that was the good part.
You were always on time to all your appointments.
I was before time. Yeah.
Before time. That's good. So Nikki, tell us your schedule now. Okay, so you have the girls. All the girls are still home, right? Your 2 girls are still home.
Mm-hmm.
So you're managing mom. You have to manage Munesh, which that's probably really hard. And so tell me, how do you balance this whole thing and still wanting to achieve your goals? How do you do that?
The good thing is my girls, they keep me accountable. They'll say, Mom, did you make your appointment? Did you finish your calls? So it's nice having them and, just having that someone's watching. So I can't be just on Facebook or just, fooling around. I need to make my calls. So I wake up in the morning. At least twice or thrice a week, I do role play, which is another thing I would like to talk about. Helped me break the nervousness of being on the call. When I started taking calls seriously, I was really doing role play. I had taken Bold at that time. So we had role play partners that really helped me feel comfortable with the phone calls. So I try and do role play twice or thrice a week. Mm-hmm. And then I get into my calls, and by 12:01, I'm done with my calls. I do set the appointments for Munesh because I make the calls and he goes for the appointments.
Oh, awesome.
So then I'll set the appointments up for him. And so that's pretty much it. Our main focus is to get the appointment and do the presentation.
How important was that whole thing about role play? I mean, really, because I think people avoid it because they're embarrassed, or I don't want anybody to see what I don't know. How important was that to your business, to role play on a regular basis?
I think that was the main thing that I'm able to do what I'm able to do today. While I was taking Bold, I had a couple of very good role play partners who would really, some days you're like, okay, I'm not in the mood. I don't want to do it today, but they would make sure that no matter what, we would do it. So I think role play is the #1 key that I would say for newer agents is, because everyone is at the same level. Once I started role playing, I knew that other agents had the same fears that I do. So it became a little bit easier.
Yeah. And for those of you that are not with Keller Williams, and those of you that are, what Bold is. Bold is just an 8-week training program where you're in a room with a lot of people and you're doing all these different assignments and you're tracking your business. So it's a good program. So the other thing I want to ask you about is, so you got role play, but what about accountability? How did that fit into your growth?
Want to answer that?
Well,
that was a good pass. That was a good pass, Nikki. Very good. I like that. What do you think about that, honey? Okay. So tell me because accountability, I think it's almost an equation, right? Role play, accountability, and then success. So how did that play into your business?
Well, I see it very simple. Accountability is just like when you commit to somebody, I'm going to meet you at a game, whether to play racquetball or at the gym. Even if you're not up to it, you got something else going on, you make sure you're there. Same thing with accountability. Once you commit to a partner, you have to perform, and you cannot just call that partner and keep saying every day, I didn't feel like doing it yesterday. I'm not going to do it now. I'm going to give up. You can't say that. So, and no one's forcing you to make those calls. But if you're gonna have an accountability partner, you got to make sure that you're making your calls and that your partner is on top of it too, because that's the aim. It's not just to make each other feel comfortable. Oh, that's all right. Don't make your calls today. We can have wine. That's not the aim.
Yeah. So, what's interesting that I see is that, Robert Kiyosaki talks about the quadrants, right? You have employee mentality, you have a self-employment, then he takes you up to business owner, and then financial independence. So he says it's very difficult for people to do this business sometimes if they're in the employee mentality. But sometimes in the employee mentality, you had a boss, like when you had the other business, your uncles or your family, you didn't let them down because there was some kind of built-in accountability, right? You had a family, you didn't want to let them down. And we don't have that in real estate. You know what I'm saying? We really could hide. We look really good, and we're suffering, So if you had to weigh it, role playing and accountability, those two things, and you had to give them on a scale of 1 to 10, the importance to someone's business, and 10 being the best, right? The most important, and 1, it's not that important. How would you rate that?
I think 8.
I would give it a full 10. I think it's very important because it helps you improve. And when you hear the other person, you can actually even improve yourself by realizing if you're making the same mistakes that, you can improve by realizing that you should not say things like this, or, when you're guiding somebody, you're advising them how to change. You're also changing yourself at the same time.
So you guys tell me, who you calling? Who are you calling right now? You're getting the leads that are coming in into the system, but who are you calling every day, Mickey?
Expired FSBOs. Munesh calls the past clients. He's the one who does, sphere of influence. He calls them. He'll, keep in touch with them. For me, it's mainly the cold leads of, expired FSBOs. I've just started geographical farming in my neighborhood, and, it's picking up a little bit. So just, we have to keep at it.
So you're calling that, and how do you handle the rejection that will come? It's not like you're not going to have someone say, please don't call me or whatever. It can be extreme. People get really upset, but how do you face the rejection when someone gets it to you?
I think now I've become a little tough. I'm like, okay, next, who's next? Who can I help next? So I think when we keep that perspective that I'm calling someone so I can help them. And I've seen, few deals where sellers were struggling to sell with past agents, whatever their issues were. And we were able to come in and help them net what they wanted and really move on. It gives a sense of satisfaction. So it makes it easier to make that call. Someone needs me out there.
Yeah. And I just want to remind everybody, if you have a question, type it on in. These are great. It's so important. And I think that we miss the different viewpoints that people have, because we're all in this business together. And the great part, I don't care what country you're from, we all started this one. 0, right? We all started 0, and we all have to work our way up to whatever production we want. So let's just say that I am calling you and I'm an expired and I say, hey, listen, I don't know what we're going to do. Now, you're going to convince them of working with us. What do you typically say to someone who's an expired, who just got off what they thought they were going to sell 3 months ago? What are you saying to them that makes them want to work with you?
I just tell them, hey, can I stop by for 15 minutes and see if you can fit into our Seller Advantage program? And if it works, that's great. And if it does not, that's fine. There's no obligation. Most of the time, I will get the appointment just based on telling them that, hey, there's no obligation. I just want to come and see how I can help you. And sometimes they'll say, no, we just don't want to sell. And that's okay too. But most of the time, I just tell them that I just need 15 minutes to just maybe tell you what's going on, in your neighborhood, or, and sometimes I may not be able to help them because they might be a little under, or they might not be able to net what they're looking to net. And that time I have to be honest, hey, I can't sell it for whatever they're looking for.
It's so interesting. Basically, you sound like you're coming from a contribution. You're trying to help them. You're not coming in to try to close them really hard, and give them what I call commission breath. You're coming from another angle, which what we call the fight or flight syndrome actually is reduced. There's not a lot of defensive posture coming from them. And so many scripts today, I believe, and you guys have seen others, that you don't feel comfortable saying it's not really you, right? And I think you started off that way, right? Yeah. With those scripts. What did you decide it was that you wanted to change? I mean, what got you to the point to go, well, this is not really me. I think I'll come into another window. And when you did change, did you see the results change?
I did, because those scripts were so salesy. It's like another salesperson, so, and I knew it was not me. However, it took a little bit of time to get adjusted to really what would sound correct, and get my foot in the door and not sound salesy. And you're right, coming from contribution.
Good. Hey, listen, Ken has a question. I want to read the question. It says, have you noticed a change in the amount of answered calls now versus 6 months ago? He says, we're in a heavily saturated area in Orange County, California. Do you have any suggestions on how to approach the sellers to bring their guards down? Good question, Ken.
Tough one.
So basically he's saying, hey, you got a lot of agents calling the same people. It's saturated. How did Ken, you got to go to India and get an accent. No, you don't have to do that. how do you come across different than all these people calling? What makes you different?
I'll call them, and sometimes I think what really helps is calling them the first, being one of the first agents to call, or sometimes I'll even wait a couple days and then call them. If they haven't relisted, by then they're calmed down. They're done with all the agents calling them, and then I get that they will be able to talk a little bit. So either you want to call them right away to be one of the first, or wait a few days and then call them. If you're lucky, they'll be still there.
Yeah.
I think
what about?
It's also important.
Go ahead, Manish. Go ahead.
And I think it's also important when we call them. I don't make too many of these calls, but when I do, it's to understand what was going on, why the home didn't sell. If they are not happy with their agent, there's no need to take that coattail and keep bashing the agent. Say, okay, I'm sorry you had a bad experience, and can I come and meet with you to see how, we can have your home sold, or to explore your various options so we can, help you net the most out of your sale. And it's just coming from contribution and advice, because if you're doing the right thing, you will get the business. You may not get every business, but you will start to see the growth.
What he said, have you noticed any change in the amount of answered calls now versus 6 months ago, Nikki?
Yes, I feel right now the expireds and withdrawals are not answering as much as they were answering 6 months ago. That's definitely. And another thing that I've noticed in our area is the number of withdrawals and expireds are really low. Like maybe 6 months ago, I used to get maybe at least between 20 to 30 leads a day, and now I'm getting 10 or under. So the homes are selling. It is getting a little bit more challenging, and that's why I did add the geographical farming. And we have to think a little bit out of the box, how to get those contacts.
And Ken, let me suggest something to you also, Ken, is that starting off your initial call to someone different than everybody else, because when you start off going, good morning, how are you? All right, already automatically you're starting to give them that fight or flight syndrome, which makes them feel like, okay, you're a salesperson. Hey, I'm not sure if you can help me. Actually, the book, one book that I suggest people to get is Exactly What to Say by Phil M. Jones. And it's interesting because we have a very similar approach to selling. And he starts off with, hey, I'm not sure if this is for you. Well, starting off as, hey, I'm not sure that you can help me. I'm not sure if you can help me is a good way of engaging that conversation very quickly and then getting them to listen to the rest of your script, which is important. But let's talk about being creative here. If we're not getting as many answers, if we stay the same, we're not going to get the business that we want. So what type of, you're saying, be a little more creative. What kind of things are you doing to be a little more creative?
I've started sending text messages. I see that people replying to that a little bit more easier. And sometimes if I'll text them a couple of times, then maybe they'll be warmer to a phone call. Mm-hmm. So that's what I do. And I think just keeping at it consistently. And I've noticed that I'll call them once or twice, they may not answer, but by the fourth or fifth time, they will answer. They're like, who's calling me? I need to take this call.
Yeah, and Ken, I'm not sure if in your market, I don't know what's happening as far as COVID and is it opening up, but I think sometimes we forget to go buy the house. You don't have to have an invitation. So I know in some markets it's a little dicey because you can't, but you're going to get more agents not wanting to stop by. And I think it's not a bad thing if you do it in a way that's not so abrupt. And, you don't want to look like you're camping out and you brought your suitcase, you can't wait to move in. That's not the point. The point is that you're on your way to your office, you're on your way home, whatever it may be, and just knock on the door to find out where they are with their home. I think we're going to have to do a little bit more of that because of the fact that these they're not answering as much now. But you got to make those adjustments. It may be, so just look at Nikki right now. How many hours are you calling a day, roughly?
3 hours, 2 to 3 hours.
And how many contacts you think you get in those 2 to 3 hours?
10, 12 contacts. I do mix it up a little bit. FSBOs are easier to get them to answer. So sometimes if I'm not getting enough expired people answering, then I'll switch it up. I'll call some FSBOs. I'll get my energy high, and then I'll go back to the expireds. So that's my usual routine.
So, okay. So I want to talk about this. So I know because you're in my area that your business you've had a great year. I mean, things were really kicking, and then COVID came in. And then you kicked back, things kept going. I mean, there was like a little lull, right? So, yeah. and then you kicked in, and then you went, man, I think we could really have a great year here. So explain how all that happened, that it was going great. The brakes went on, and then you picked back up, and then you went, hey, things are going well. And then I said, crank it up. Let's go to the next level. What happened there?
I think COVID is, sometimes you're here, sometimes you have to go a little back to move forward. So the universe kind of did it for us. With COVID, we kind of stopped and went a little back. And that gave us time to realize, what we needed to change, how we needed to do things differently in our business. It just gave us that time. And I think that's when we figured out that Munesh was doing the calls, but he's just not that person who's going to do these, cold calling and prospecting. It's not him, but he can call past clients and whip 3 deals up, and he'll be like, I call this one, and we have 3 new leads. So we figured out our strengths that, okay, I'm good on the call, and he was working on his presentation skills. So I think that time gave us a little bit more insight on how we needed to change our business. And then we saw that, okay, the next thing we knew is like we were really charged up to move forward.
Well, I wrote down what you said, that you determine each strength, because there's a lot of couples out there. And so you said, okay, let's take this moment and analyze where we are and then figure out who has the strengths. And then all of a sudden you figured that out. And then what happened?
So now I think we are very clear on what our roles are. Initially, we were both doing everything, which was not, it wasn't working out right. Now, I think we both know. What would you say?
That's true. And Bill, if I asked her before, did you make your calls? She would dig back at me. So there was no accountability. Now that we are sure with our roles, I can sure enough ask that question and get whacked on the back of my head too. But still, hey, I can ask the question now, you know?
So you won't get in the doghouse. Everything's going to be
good.
So, all right. So then you got to a point where you went, I think I'm going to raise my goal.
Yes.
That took a little guts, didn't it?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So what gave you that confidence? I mean, really, I mean, you, this is actually a great year for you, isn't it?
That's true.
Even in this whole thing, knowing what you know now, and you start looking at 2021, how does that make you feel going into this new year right now? Knowing what you went through and experienced, how does that help you into 2021?
It's exciting. Can't wait to see what, together, the systems that we can put in place for 2021. So it's really exciting and nervousing, of course, going to the next level. I think we're ready.
Well, we are ready. And, as you say it too, there is no rocket science. You have to do your work. You have to do the right stuff. You have to know your scripts. And, when you go for a presentation, and we genuinely come from contribution, because when I'm going into a listing presentation, I don't go in there counting the money or like how much I'm going to make or how much I need the money. I go in there how I can help these folks. And with that, everything else follows. The money follows, and the downtime that we had during COVID, March, April, we were attending a lot of lectures, doing a lot of reading, practicing scripts. So that actually helped us polish our skills. And we could, once we started seeing the success, we were like, we were tasting it, and then we wanted more of that taste. So we said, let's go ahead and, push our goals further.
So, okay. So what do you got to be careful with? Okay, because you're at a critical point, and a lot of agents that are, hey, we can take it to the next level. What are some of the things that or the bad habits you do not want to get back involved with that you could easily do if you're not aware of it? What kind of things could you get in a trap that can take you off your game?
That's a good question, Bill. There's a lot of stuff that can distract you, because when you're doing good, you want to lift the foot off the pedal and be like, hey, I've got 6 deals on the table. I'm comfortable. You start concentrating on other things, doing other stuff. But then once the 6 deals are done, then it's dry. So so you have to generate, you got to keep oiling the wheel to move forward. So there's a lot of stuff.
Is there something personally that you guys do? I'm wondering, everybody has good days, bad days. But if you have too many bad days, you start falling back into the old Munesh, old Nikki routine. So how do you guys get out of that danger zone? What do you do to each other? What do you do to make sure we don't go back to a place that you weren't feeling comfortable with in your production?
One thing, Bill, that you say to us, which has really resonated, and it's like deep down, is you got to think of a pro athlete. Like if you're having a rough day or like a rough couple of days, that's like a pro athlete losing a game or 2 games. They don't throw everything down and stop. I mean, they work harder. They say, okay, we're going to come back better and stronger next game. So that's what I keep reminding Nikki. That's what I keep reminding myself. And, that's what we are doing to move forward.
So let me explain what he's talking about. Because on Mondays, I talk a lot about analogies and things. And one of the things that we're doing on Monday Morning Launch, on the Espresso Monday Morning Launch, is talk about accountability. And we talk about this athlete. When you look at these athletes, there's a couple things that happen there too. They change their persona too when they're in the field of play. And so we talked about the alter ego and how you've got to come into the game. I think sometimes you would come into the game the same way. Like Nick is a mom with the kids at home, and then she's going to get on the phone, and You're no longer the mom. You're Nikki, the superpowered lady that's going to make the calls. And then Munesh is the superpowered guy that bugs the heck out of you every day or whatever that is. Tells you to get on. But if we stay the same way and not transform, which I'm trying to get everybody on Mondays to understand, that if we can set that new person, that superhero, that alter ego that is just dynamic, it changes everything. Have you seen that happen for you guys?
Yes, Bill. Yeah. Getting in that mindset, getting in that frame, because, when you're making calls, you cannot sit with your family problems, personal things, it's like you got to get, okay, I'm on the call. This is the most important thing for me in the world. And you get on it till you find somebody, because that, making 10 calls, you're not going to get a deal. Sometimes it takes 10, sometimes it takes 100, but you will get one if you keep making it.
And you guys do something, and I know that because you're in my area, I've seen you guys do stuff like, I don't know, you'll do a social event every so often. So you're, besides the calling, you're also branding yourselves too, right? And I know you like that, Nikki. I'm sure you love that because she loves hosting.
What we're doing right now during COVID, since we can't have any of the big parties and big socials, we dropped off 25 to 30 pumpkins, and we're doing like a pumpkin carving contest for kids. And all of our past clients the kids were super excited. I've got so many text messages. And what we're going to do is they're going to send us a picture of their pumpkin, and then we're going to have a contest on Facebook, and whoever gets the most number of likes is going to get an Amazon gift card. So definitely it's created some buzz out there, and I've got so many calls now. Instead of me calling past clients, they're calling me. So, because we are, most of them are not home. So we just dropped it outside their house. And so they're calling me, and now I can have the conversation. Hey, how's everything going? And Good. So it's still a touch. And instead of me making that call, I'm getting the call. So
that's interesting. And what I like about it, because you are turning it around. I mean, you've given them something, and the intent, and I know you guys, the intent is to give them something nice, right? You want to continue. And the thing about it is that we want that center of influence, that past client base, to start generating us, let's say 10% back. So if you have 250 names, hopefully 25 leads will come out of that a year, and then you get to convert that. So this has been very successful for you guys at this time of the year. Now we get closer to the holidays. Do you do anything different down there as we get into November, December?
Yes, we'll do something for the holidays. I don't know, with COVID, we won't be able to do something in person. Right. So we might think of, and what we do, our thing is a family thing. So the whole pumpkin thing, the kids pitched in. They helped us make the flyer and decorate. So it becomes a family project, which is, it's business, and then families involved too.
Yeah, Christine says, love it. That's good, Christine. And you know what? Any other ideas too good? Because what happens here, and listen, there's two methods, I believe, and help me if you think I'm wrong, but there's an inbound method. That's your marketing. That's your all these other things that you're doing, pumpkins, all that. That's what we call an inbound method of marketing. Your outbound is going to be your FSBOs expired, your calls going out. Those two methods, or let's say strategies, have to be working in conjunction. If you're like just doing outbound and not doing this, you're working so hard. Think about this, and I'm going to ask you this question. You're calling people that you don't know, and you're actually converting it, right? You're converting these calls, which brings you X amount of business. And then you have your database that brings you X. How well did let's say percentage wise, how does that work for you? Business compared to going out, and your database business, is that 50-50, 60-40? How's that working for you? Percentage?
Well, right now, I would say it's 50-50. Because first our business was only our sphere of influence, but now we are concentrating more on the outbound. But always, like our past clients are most important, and we definitely keep them. Like I'm in touch with them as Nikki mentioned, but even our outbound is growing now. So that's where we are seeing a big spike in our business.
Yeah, because you're losing, and for those of you that have espresso. I think that sometimes this is good business, right? This is the fun stuff, right? This is the stuff
Yes.
that we love. Oh, people are coming to us. This is great. And then we got to get on that little phone, this thing right here that weighs God knows how much, and we got to make it. But this is the difference for you guys, was that you were doing this stuff, and this stuff really started. That's what made you be able to go to that next level, right?
That's right.
True.
So forget, what if you didn't have that calling? What if Nikki decided she wanted to lay on the couch and never do the calling? What would happen?
I don't know, but maybe I would get on the phone. I don't want to know that.
Oh, no.
But no, we would have to do something, but I'm just glad we are like not there in that position, figuring it out, you know, what we would do at that point.
So let's talk about the future. So 2021, what do you got to make sure that you're going to be doing in 2021 to maintain? Because we don't have a crystal ball. We have no clue really what's happening. We know that interest rates will probably be low, but what do you want to make sure that you're focused on in 2021?
Well, keeping all the systems and everything in place, calls, all that stuff. But I think it's very important to keep abreast of what's going on in the market, to be able to even foresee what's going to come. No one's got a magic ball as to where the rates are going to go. But as long as you know your facts and figures and numbers, you can definitely make an educated guess, and you can guide people and help them accordingly how to move forward with their real estate needs.
Good. Nikki, you feel the same way? Are you excited about 2021?
I am. I think for me, it would be, of course, he's the one who's in touch about the market and the knowledge. For me, it's just consistently making my calls, and the key is in the follow-up. Like there was one lead I was talking to for 3 months, and then they sold with us. We were able to help them net more, and they gave me 2 more listings.
Whoa.
So it took 3 months to convert, but I do see that there's a lot of opportunity out there, and I would like to tell other agents to, make it fun, make the calls, like don't, what I do is I'm fully prepared when I'm making my calls. I'm having a good time. That's my goal. Like I'm on the call, and, every half an hour, 45 minutes, I take a break, walk around, and then I'll get at it. And my goal is to at least make 1 appointment a day. Sometimes it's hard. Yesterday, I was calling for hours, and I didn't get anybody to make an appointment, but I was like, no, that's okay. I'm going to just keep at it.
That's great. That's great. Just a question that has nothing to do with what we just talked about. I was wondering, what's the real estate market like in India? Is that a regulated, licensed business in India, or is it not?
No, it's crazy there.
No, it's not. Right now, the market is low because of COVID. They have had a more serious lockdown. But I'm from Bombay, and that's like a New York City. Real estate's very expensive. Everything is vertical. So it is a crazy market out there, real estate wise. I mean, it's not regulated. I cannot go open a Keller Williams agency there because anyone can help anyone sell a house. So yeah, it's not like here. There's no licensed business in selling a house.
Kind of like Dubai. Dubai is the same way. You can go in
Yes.
there and it's like the wild, wild west. Hey, you wake up one morning, I want to be a real estate agent, and it's crazy. So listen, guys, I just want to say thanks. I mean, this is really helpful, and I hope that you guys that are listening and watching either live or later on really start to understand that we all come from the same issues. We all started at zero. No one came in with 50 deals just like that. The thing is, I think the point that I'm hearing by both of you, that by evaluating, like you said, understanding what your strengths are, and then also analyzing where you want to go and having that worked out, and continue to role play and have an accountability part. Those were critical facts that helped you grow your business, which I think is exciting. So how can they get a hold of you if they have any questions?
They can email us at callnikitamunesh@kw.com. We're going to put that in the chat, and they can always reach out to Nikita or me. I'm going to put our numbers here also. So, they got every avenue to reach out to us, and we'll be glad to help them with, or, whatever questions they have, we'll be glad to answer that for them.
Because you may have people that want to know where to get discount pumpkins at, because now everybody's going to want to. So they're going to say, hey, there's the answer. I'll just do pumpkins. Well, guys, I just want to say thanks. It's been great talking to you, and it's inspiring because of the fact that there should be no excuses for anybody coming from anywhere to make the calls, and outbound calling is an essential part of growing your business. So thanks so much for being on. I appreciate it, and hope to see you back on the mastery sessions for next year and tell us that, hey man, you doubled your business and Nikki's gone to the Caribbean.
For a girls trip, right, Bill?
That's right. All right, guys,
Yep.
take care.